So there were so many people involved. When it started off with 6 lads initially, and then it just grew. From the FLA to the DFLA, we had a proper committee, and we had plenty of meetings and plenty of lads come to the meetings from up and down the country. You know, everyone played their part, getting these people on the pavement at our marches. So you know, they're all. We've got to thank them all. I don't want to name anyone because you know.
No, but there was a committee or a council, as we used to call it, and there was people, you know, representative of Leeds, Millwall, Aston Villa, Birmingham, obviously Spurs, West Ham, Southampton.
There was from
lots of Arsenal. You know, it wasn't just a couple of teams; it was representative of most of the country. There was the odd team that weren't involved. You know, I think you know, by and large, Liverpool. You know, maybe for obvious reasons, but.
We had the lads from Manchester there.
Manchester, you know, and to be fair, we went to. I mean, initially, we were accused of, it's always in London. Why is everything in London? But then we started to tour it, didn't we? From one of a better phrase. Obviously, we went to Birmingham for Justice for 21, which was, you know, something that we really all supported. You know, trying to those poor people trying to get justice. I think the whole football community got behind the Justice for 21, didn't they? You know, it was, you know, up and down the country, the collection from was amazing. And they've been looking for justice over 50 years now, that is, you know.
Yeah, I know.
And Julie Hamilton and Brian Hamilton, I mean, to be fair, there was a big march in October 2017. I remember this lady coming up to me.
Oh, do you remember that?
And she says, you know, is it right if I talk?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know, I'm just sorry, Julie, I apologise. I'm thinking, no, who are you?
Great big Justice for 21 banner, didn't
I sort of thought at the time, well, it'd be nice to hear, just to hear a lady talking, rather than all these men, you know, all these big old lumps and that. I said, well, Dick, go on then. And do you know what? The reaction of 73,000 big lads and football, you know, whatever they are, big old boys, watching something. And we're standing on the bus and we're looking down at people crying when that lady was telling that story. And to be fair,
Phil Campion's speech was brilliant, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mike Howe.
Mike Howe was. To be honest, I mean, I think you're gonna see and hear hopefully what Mike Howe says. But I mean, I personally think. That's perhaps the cleverest thing I've ever heard anyone say out of any of the speeches. What Mike Howe said on the day, and he was there, by the way, because his good friend Keith Palmer. Keith Palmer was the police officer who died trying to protect Westminster. He's trying to protect Westminster. So you know, and sorry, I've got goosebumps, but I went and took a wreath there the year after that, after he died, and there was 5 or 6 wreaths there, Phil. And I could tell you who they're from, you know, and who they should have been from. We had one for Theresa May and so forth, but 5 or 6 wreaths. That man gave his life. You know, and of course he was a good friend of Mike Howe's. Mike's a top man. You know, probably the most popular man.
Yeah, we've made some good friends.
Mike's a black man, by the way. You know, I'm just going to throw that out there because you know,
we've made some good friends.
But I'll tell you what, I reckon that's probably the most popular man in the football lads alliance. You know, he's a top man, and Mike got up. You know, if you'd have told me years ago that you're going to be really good friends with an ex-policeman who's a prison officer, I'd have probably doubted.
I mean, I got really close with Terry Houlihan, who's gone now, God bless his soul, 4 years ago, this week it was, and we become really close, and losing him was a big, like we lost a big part there of the, no, we didn't lose a big part, but he played a big part. I remember meeting him on the bridge, and he was doing the heading. He was Millwall, and he was like, you know, Phil, and I was like, mate, leave me. But after that, we just clicked. And listen, the lads, you know, from Birmingham, like West Brom, Villa, Birmingham, you know, Wolves. We become good friends with a lot of them. So many good friends now.
There's some of the things that people don't realise. I mean, I don't know how much money we must have, the football lads in general, must have saved the police forces over the years. In the last 7 or 8 years.
Well, they don't have to. We put in our own pocket as well, because there was a thing at one point that we was only doing it for money.
I didn't put money into it. We got nothing out.
Yeah.
But You know, to see, I mean, back in the day, I mean, here's an example, Birmingham and Millwall. You know, here was two clubs that really didn't get on. There was a lot of rivalry kicking off badly, you know, and now, not nearly riots, the last one at Millwall, right? And then all of a sudden, when everyone came together in 2017, to see what happened after that, when all these people got to know each other, and then what was happening, I remember Birmingham came down to Millwall, and the night before the game, when we were drinking with them all, I think in the Drafts pub, in Terry's pub, Terry Ulan, where him and the lads drank, bless him, and you know, to see all that now, you know, and all of a sudden, the policing of some of these games must be a hell of a lot less officers, a lot less money. You know, how much money must we have saved them over the years?
Where people were getting on.
You know, and now to see, I mean, like, you know, Phil said, to see Millwall and West Ham walk up the road together.
Oh, that was some sight. When you had you had the West Ham reef, which was typical West Ham, bigger than, better than everyone else, and then you had the Millwall reef next to it. I was at the top of the bus and I was like, have a look at this. It was mental.
I remember standing at the top of the bus, and I think it was Phil Campion said, because nearly everyone was on outside the first, you know, facing sort of Norfolk Park Lane.
Yeah.
And you know, you had this huge crowd. We're looking out, you know, when people see all those pictures, you know, of that massive crowd, and you couldn't see the end of it really. And in fact, you know, just in the distance to see this firm walking up the road, I was like, who's that? And we're looking and it getting nearer and nearer. It's like Ents originally. And all of a sudden there's, I don't know, 400 and it's Leeds walking down the road. We didn't even know. You know, we didn't even know they were coming.
Amazing. Amazing.
And you know, I mean, Phil Campion's reaction to that is absolutely superb. But I mean,
Portsmouth had big numbers as well.
Pompey had a firm there. A good firm there. I mean,
even like Oxford and Boreham Wood. If you look at some of the reefs,
Darlington,
Darlington
was with the Spurs
Boreham
boys.
Wood, Oxford,
Ipswich.
Yeah, Ipswich. Some of the reefs are brilliant.
The smaller clubs.
Yeah, a lot of smaller clubs were there.
I'm going to tell what I'll do my head in now. They won. It's a classic thing. They won the World Cup before the Club Cup before it was the World Cup up in the North East. They were there, and it's not even. They're not in the. We're talking about non-league football teams here. You know, non-league sides. I mean,
there was loads.
You know,
Darlington had great numbers.
Yeah, to see some, you know, Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
Crystal Palace was, you know, so all of these firms. I mean, if you look out, when we were looking out across from the top of that bus, and there you can see all these different reefs from all these different clubs. You know, from all over the country. There was people from Scotland.
The Vets as well. They was some.
Yeah.
They had great numbers there as well.
We had, you know, we've always had this sort of alliance, brotherhood type thing, alliance with the veterans. You know, they were coming. A lot of those guys were coming down from up north. The Gurkhas.
Oh, that was brilliant.
The Gurkhas. Just about everywhere you see. When we got to Trafalgar Square on that big march, and the Gurkhas came along, and they just said, "Is it all right if we come and join you?" If it was, I don't even think that was sort of premeditated in any way. And they was just all there and said, "It's all right if we walk with you." Of course it is. We're not going to say no. Are we? These people fought for this country. And by the way, there's some people. Not a lot of people that got let down by this government. You know, or previous governments in general. This country, you know, how the veterans are treated in this country is something we've tried to do over the years to highlight. You know, a lot of the amount of homeless veterans, the amount of homeless veterans that sleep rough on the streets of England. After the second march and going to Birmingham, you know, people got together and people were angry. People were looking at what was going on with the Grooming Gangs. We were getting phone calls. We were getting contacts with people.
Loads of people were calling us, like, you know, especially after the second march, and then when we went to Birmingham, because that got quite a good publicity, like local publicity and YouTube publicity. Loads of people were contacting us, asking us, "Can we go and do?" I mean, we had to be careful, and we had to, you know, kind of like vet some of it.
Because some people, you know, they haven't got the right agenda, or they might actually be far right as opposed to us. Which were, you know, we had people that try and attach themselves to us, and we'd be, you know, quite often they were the ones that were getting sung out of, you know, marches and things like that. But you know,
all them years all them marches we had, to not have one arrest. That's something. That's saying something, you know.
I mean, 73,000 people. And I mean, to be honest, where I was filming that to start with, so I remember, I can't remember his name, Keith, his name is.
Yeah,
he was a liaison officer. He was in charge of crowd control
big Keith, in
London, right? He was the Scouse lad, police officer, right? And he came up to me and he sort of said, "Justin, what are you doing there?" And I said, I'm filming. Now, I'd met Keith when we were doing security for the 2012 Olympics. So, he's just looking at me. For some reason, he just took it. Initially, I'm just there to film that. I wasn't part of the setup of the FLA. I was just there to film what we were doing that day. I was asked, "Do you want to come and film it and make a documentary?"
Yeah.
And I went, "Well, yeah, go on then."
Yeah.
And so Keith approaches me. He said, all right, Justin, what are you doing? And I said, "I've come to film it." He went, "Shut up." He said, "Of course you have." Because he wouldn't for 1 minute think about me with a film company. Yeah. I said, "No, serious, mate." He went, I'm going to say what he said, but yeah. And I said, "No, I've come to film." I said, "What time are you going to shut the road off?" Now, bearing in mind, I had 3 camera crews that day. I had one with the Tottenham boys, every of your boys in the pub. Right, I've got one with, I think one that was waiting for West Ham to come down the road and so forth, that was sort of at the bottom of Hyde Park Corner. And then I had the guy, one of our Graham was on the bus, filming everything from the top of the bus, hence all those beautiful shots we got. And I said, I'm filming it. I said, "But when you going to shut the road down?" He went, "Shut the road?" I said, "Well, yeah, you've got to shut the road, didn't you?" He said, "Why would I want to do that?" I said, "No, at the time, I said, well, you've got 50,000 football fans coming out." I said, "You're going to gridlock London, mate, if you don't." And he just looked at me and laughed. He went, "Really?" I went, "It's up to you, mate." Well, there's more and more people turned up that day. And I think this was getting nearer and nearer. This got to about half an hour, 40 minutes beforehand. And all of a sudden, I think when you started seeing, Tottenham coming down the road, then Birmingham and Villa. Yeah. Birmingham and Villa walked in on sort of from the side together. And you could see all the, fair play to them, they all come down all together.
No singing.
No, all quiet.
No singing, all quiet.
And it's just watched all these firms walking along, and all of a sudden I've seen him out the corner of my eye, sidled up to me, and he said, "You ain't joking, are you?" I said, "No, mate, I ain't joking." He said, "How do you know that?" I said, "I've got camera crews with them all." I said, "There's a couple of thousand West Ham coming down the road in a minute. Fuck knows who else is coming." Yeah. He went, all right, well, I'm going to do it, and I'd love to, I've done it wherever he is, but I'd love to interview him, see him talk about this, because he was having kittens, wasn't he, on the day?
He works with funeral directors now.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's works. He's not with the police.
I'll tell you what. I'm not always the police's biggest fan, but I actually felt sorry for him because he was having kittens that day.
Every march we done, I've got to say they were as good as gold.
Apart from all I weren't there.
Apart from the way
September 2018 one, I think they led everyone in.
Yeah, I think. But what I'm saying is, like the first one, when we had the 10,000 now, they were brilliant. I mean, they just stayed well out of the way, and then the second one, they was. I mean, when we walked, they was plotted in all the side streets in vans, but they never bothered us once, and they come up to us at the end and thanked us.
Yeah,
and said like thanks.
Well, to be fair, we gave him a round of applause.
Yeah, we did.
I think you'll find Mike Howell, and Mike Howell was talking on the bus, and he's, he was talking about Keith Palmer, fellow officer, friends of his mate Wayne, as well, that died. And he said, and the whole crowd, 73,000 people, which you wouldn't expect to see, gave the police a round of applause. Because as Mike rightly said, at that time they were front line, and it may be them getting blown up. Yeah. Who knows who's going to go next? So. But on that day, I mean, I think he said to me that Park Lane. I didn't know whether this is true or not. Park Lane is only 3-lane thoroughfare in London. Just he said to me, "You want me to shut it?" I said, "Well, it's up to you." I said, "But you're going to gridlock London if you don't." Yeah. And so he did shut it, and as Phil rightly said earlier, I mean, it wasn't just that. The crowd, you can see the crowd all the way round to the side. You forget how many, there were thousands at the side. Yeah. And then to see from the top of the bus looking down, I remember Phil Campion saying to me, these 2 fellas walking up, he said, who's that? And I looked, and I could literally see Andy walk along, Andy Swallow. And I looked, and I said, "Oh, well, that's West Ham and Millwall." He went, "West Ham and Millwall?" He went, "No, yeah." I went, "No, that is West Ham and Millwall." He went, "You sure?" I went, "Yeah." I'm looking at Hooley and Terry Houlihan, some of them boys. Yeah. And I went, "Yeah." He went, "I thought they didn't get on." I said, "They don't." But on that day, everyone got on that day. You know, and anyone that was there,
I think that's what we're going to have on the 28th as well, Justin.
Yeah, I think you know, hopefully.
I'd love to have them numbers again, but even if we haven't, I think we're going to have decent numbers. But you're going to get everyone together again, and that's what it's for, the children, and that's what it's got. That's what it's got to be for. You know, all this tearing up of football, mate. Come on. Why?
We're getting a bit old for that, man.
Yeah, we're getting a bit old for it. Listen, but you know, these are days when we have to come together.
Yeah.
And, you know, and show this country and show this government that. To
be honest, every single one of those people, every single person, not just on the big march in October, all those events around the country, every single person that put feet on the ground at one of those events has played a part in what has happened in recent days. Okay, I mean, you know, we went. You know, we were amongst the first people to call for a national inquiry, and we went to those places. We went to Telford, and we went to Rochdale. And sometimes they were in the week. These were weekdays. This wasn't a weekend when everyone can come down, and people still got to pay for train fares. And a lot of these people, you know, they're not. There's very few rich people involved in what we do. I think, you know,
working
you're talking about working class people,
yeah. Do you know what I mean?
care.
Who care?
You know, and they've got to book trains, you know, in advance and come to these things and get there. Yeah. And these people, every one of those people who put feet on the ground over the last 8 years and went to any one of these events and every other people's events. Yeah. You know, I mean, Tommy, we all know if Tommy didn't do what he did originally, nobody else would be doing it. That's a given.
The man was the first.
That's a given. All right. None of us would be doing what we do.
No, it's right. So, his numbers at his marches now are big, and I personally think that's because we brought out big numbers.
They
aligned it. I mean, we wasn't doing anything no more, so everyone aligned themselves with Tommy. I mean, but we all love Tommy, and what he does is great. So he deserves accolade as well. But not only that, the people that worked with all the lads that worked with us, the girls, the women that worked with us on our committee, every one of them. I mean, you know, they was all working, going to work in the week, and then coming home, and they're all on the phone to each other, and we had no life. All we had was the DFLA and work at the time, and it was a lot. There was a lot
of people. Admins that were filled in, that had to monitor all the pages.
That main page.
What people wouldn't think about. Yeah. You know, you'd get. I mean, you know, we had to turn it off at 11 because you'd get random utters or whatever come on there spouting proper racist shit or whatever that we didn't adhere to, and we'd be trying to take that down, and you had to have someone like originally it was 24/7.
We had 4 girls on it, and they was on it all night. They was doing shifts.
Well, there's 100,000 people on it, Phil.
They were doing shifts. They were doing shifts on the Facebook page, and it was mad. And they're not getting no money for this. You know what I mean? And they're married, and they're just.
Yeah, well, it's probably done for a few people's relationships over the years, and you know, people forget. I think some of the.
I've got to admit, nearly ended my relationship. My missus wasn't happy, but you know, I think at the moment now she's.
I think my missus was just glad to get rid of me, you know. But no, I mean, obviously we started going to places like Telford and Rochdale. Eventually, we were asked to go to those places. And we went there, you know, not thousands of us, a few hundred of us. But do you know what? I think that made a hell of a lot of difference because we gave us going there, gave a lot of those girls the confidence and the courage to come out and speak out. Yeah. That someone's going to be there to look after them. People getting behind them. They weren't on their own.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them were very nervous, weren't they? And when we said to them, you know, we're here for you, and like you say, it helped them, and then they come out and they spoke out, and
I mean, you watch the crowd. You know, when we started walking through Telford, for example, and you know, all of a sudden you see always local people. You know, I was quite surprised how many local people. Suddenly you're looking around, there's more and more people walking behind. What was initially maybe 100 of us is now 300. So people did integrate with that and walked around. Of course, we got this stupid anti-protest thing. I mean, actually the most unbelievable thing I've seen was them trying to racially abuse a Pakistani man, Mo fired.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Okay, and they're calling him a racist, and they're spouting out this shit. But most of them were white, by the way.
Yeah.
Basically abusing a Pakistani man that was with us, a Muslim Pakistani man, and you can clearly hear Mo say to them, I'm from the Pakistani community. These men are from my community, and they were still trying to racially abuse him and racially abusing Red Pill Phil at the same time. We've been joined by Monty now. He's got to have his word. But yeah, you know, and this is the sheer craziness of what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going on. It's crazy. It's just, how can you can't approach those people that are coming out and wanting their children to be protected?
I don't get it. It's almost like they're pro-paedophilia.
Yeah.
What are you standing up for? You're standing up for the paedophiles.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
But
that's
you know what?
Pro-paedophilia.
You know what?
That's the new name for them, Doug.
They're not worth. To be honest, they're not even worth the time of us talking about them.
I don't want to give them airtime.
Fuck them. They don't deserve the airtime. We go and get some help, you people.
Yeah.
But you know, and to see that, you know, on the back of some of those things, Telford Naga. Some great people.
Yeah.
There were some really great people in the background, and we're lucky enough to work with all these people now.
Yeah, well, they work with us.
Telford Naga, Pat UK, Billy Howe, top great people. Anthony Wood, Elizabeth Harper in Rotherham. You know, these people, they know their stuff. We're just there to support them.
Yeah.
You know, if we can help them in any way, we
set up that
support. They've got a support network for the children, and we try and support them. And I think that's how it sort of works, really.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm just glad we got them on board.
And it's a learning curve, isn't it, Phil? I mean, every day's a school day in terms of, you know, you hear some of these things, and I'm constantly, you know, sometimes not in a good way. You hear these things, you think, fuck. How the fuck have you lived through that?
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that when we launched that launch, when some of them, when they were speaking, I was like.
And as much as I mean, I dropped me out to Tom Robinson for what he's done for all these years, and a lot of other people who've fought the good fight for years on these children's behalf. But as much as all of those people, you know, deserve a hell of a lot of credit, the real heroes to me, those girls.
Yeah, the survivors.
I've got goosebumps, mate. Those girls, what they've done.
What they've done, what they've been through, to be able to come through that is.
You know, it gets you, mate. It's like,
it does get you.
You know, and when you're talking to those girls, and you know,
they're so appreciative as
it's like when you say well done, they're like so over the moon.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, without those girls talking out and doing what they've done now, this wouldn't have happened. No. It would not have happened. You know,
we've just
at the end of the day,
they've kept on, and they've not give up.
And we sit there in the last few weeks watching all these political leaders now trying to get into bed with them, if you'll pardon the pun, right? Yeah, all these political leaders trying to make political gain out of what's happening with all of this, whether it's a Tory party, Reform, all of them. Like Phil said earlier, I haven't got any time for any of them.
I can't.
What I'd like to see is what's hopefully going to happen, and that people will stand as independents, and that people that are standing independents will stand for the children. Watch this space on that. Right? Because we haven't got any faith in any of these people. They've all, to be fair, not just Labour, Labour, what you've done in the last few years, absolutely disgusting. How you can even look at anyone, how you can even talk about this, I don't know. But to be fair, the Tories...
How can they investigate
themselves?
Done it.
Well,
investigating themselves.
There's an old saying in the Bible, isn't it? Who guards the gods?
Yeah.
And what are we saying? That someone like this Judge Harmer, who's Starmer's mate, is it going to be someone like that?
Yeah.
Because the whole reason we are going,
and apparently it's going to take between 5 and 10 years.
What? Some sort of done from there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's disgusting, but. This is one of the reasons, like Saturday the 28th of June.
Yes.
Right? The reason, they've announced that we're going to have a national inquiry, you know, by the judiciary, right? But the reason on Saturday the 28th of June that we need to be going there, and every one of you people that put feet on the ground and have got us to where we are now, because you've all made a difference over the last 8 years or more. We need you all out again. Because our mission now is to make sure that these girls get justice. Because they've had the courage and the bravery
also to make
to
sure
speak out.
All those that were complicit in it are brought to justice as well.
Oh yeah.
You
So
know,
all you social services,
yeah,
and the police officers, and the politicians,
yeah,
and the people that
local
sent out these
councillors,
letters telling the chiefs of police, not to take any action.
Yeah,
because we know all about this. We've got all the statistics.
yeah,
Yeah. This is why every single one of you, if you're a parent, a grandparent, a concerned citizen,
come and join us.
Come and join us, yeah. Come and walk side by side. Yeah, side by side. Right, with other concerned parents and grandparents.
It'd be a great
Put
day.
your feet on the ground, yeah.
Got some great speakers.
We've got some great speakers coming. And there might be a couple of surprises.
Yeah,
so come
very
along.
special. We've got one very special speaker coming along.
Yeah, we'll see you all on Saturday, the 28th of June, 12 noon.
Be there or be part of the silence.
Yeah, 12 noon, Russell Square.
12 noon, Russell Square.
See you there.